Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again to do another question and answer video. This time I'm answering a question that's been raised by a kind of on-again, off-again student of mine. Sent me an email, a gentleman by the name of Brian, and he's asked the question, I am having a hard time connecting information to instinct. I've noticed that in learning guitar there's a lot of information given. I can learn this scale, that chord shape. I can learn the theory of how these scales work over this chord progression. I can learn so much information and practice how to play it, yet I find that there are a lot of times that the knowledge of these things goes far beyond the instinct or what's built up inside of me as a musician. Basically, I know more than I understand internally. For example, when learning a blues, we have formulas for what sounds good over the progression. The question I have is how much of that is actually the musician playing what's in their head over just playing the notes of what they know works for the given progression. A thought I had the other day is how much of a guitarist playing is what they're hearing as opposed to the avenues that they have carved into the fretboard of things that they know work or sound good. I can play about every scale there is, but if I'm honest, I can only hear in my head and sing out loud the major scale and relative minor scale. Something seems off about that. I can transcribe or imitate pretty good, and I notice that you can do it effortlessly. Thank you. When people say to make the guitar an extension of yourself, I see you as the perfect example of that. What advice do you have for connecting my knowledge with my instinct in making the guitar a true extension of myself? These are thoughts I'm having. Maybe they're off a bit, but I was wondering if you had any insight into this. Well, first of all, seems like a great subject for a Skype lesson. No, I kid, I tease. So, yeah, I totally know what you mean, and I see this as a problem in students all the time. And don't pretend or don't convince yourself that you are part of some sort of minority when you talk about a problem like that. That puts you very firmly in the majority of guitar players and musicians. Because, as an instrument, we tend to play it as a physical like shape-based thing. If I want to play E minor, I might play. Now when I do something like that, I'm operating from within scale patterns, things that I've practiced, things that I'm aware of. I've been playing so long now that those are all completely automatic to me. But when it comes to actually playing out of those things, it's not as pattern-based as you might think. It's vocabulary-based. So what do I mean by that? Well, when I'm playing a phrase like that, to me that's an expression. That's a catchphrase. It's something that I play a lot. Phrases like that. I know it sounds silly, but that's a phrase, hitting the root, sliding up to that minor third and bending a bit, and I'll do that. That's a small little phrase that I use when improvising. So I guess what we're talking about, and I've done it time and time again, is music as a language. And really, you've kind of pointed out the issue in your playing. You said that you can sing the major scale and that you can sing the minor scale, but you can't sing others. Why? It's a language, and you need to be familiar with the vocabulary of that language. So, I know I kind of bang on about this a lot, but singing is a good thing to use when practicing, when working on your vocabulary. No matter what I'm working on, I'm always trying to either sing it or hear it before I do it. So this applies to literally anything that you're practicing. When I take a major scale, if I play D major, however you choose to think of that, doesn't matter. That's the scale. You need to be able to sing that, but not as you're doing it. I'm not going ba, ba, ba. No, I sing it before I play it. I'm hearing it before the note happens. So ba, 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 ba. I understand that Mixolydian is the major scale with a flattened 7, so I practice that. Ba da 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 ba ba da ba ba da 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 da. So because I'm practicing singing everything I play, I'm really learning what intervals sound like, right? When I just played that major scale and sang it with a flattened 7th. We can do this with just about any mode, any sound, based on the things you already know. So why don't you take, you know the major scale, why don't we try and hear Lydian before it happens? Let's hear what that sharp 4 sounds like. Let's anticipate that sound. Da, da, da. Now what does the sharp 4 sound like? Ba, da, da, da. That's the 4th. Ba, da, da, da. That's my sharp 4. Ba, da, 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 ba, da, da, da. I could do the same thing. Ba, da, 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 da. Put the flat 7 in there. 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, flat 7 and root. I'm forcing myself to hear that as a sound. Ba da 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 na 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 ba da 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 da. So that's silly, scalar-based ways of doing things, and the singing isn't the important part. I'm singing, yeah, sure, but you don't need to do that singing when you're practicing this. I would encourage it, but really it's me just demonstrating that that's what I'm hearing when I'm doing it. Now that same approach works for any vocabulary, anything that we're working on. So if I'm playing, let's say I'm in D, I don't know why. I've got my root, and I know perhaps all of my possible sounds. When my finger is here, I can put my first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger anywhere, and I know what that's going to sound like. So ba ba da da da, ba da 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 da, ba da da bu da da, bu da da da. Now that's simple vocabulary, right? But why don't I try and make it more interesting? So if I practice something like the country scale, I can hear ba ba da da da. Bo da 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 da, bo da 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 da, bo da 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 da. It's a phrase. Ba 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 da da, bo da da da. Singing, not my strong point. The point is, I'm always working on that. That is something I'm always developing. And forcing myself to do that and hear every possible sound. It's wonderful that you can play any like minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio if I'm doing that in D. Now when I do that, can I hear other sounds around that? Ba 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 da 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 ba da bu da 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 ba ba da 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 ba ba da ba ba da da. Bad pitching. Ba da 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 ba da bu da 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 bu da ba ba da bu da ba da ba da da ba 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 da bu da 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 bu da da ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da bu. Now, when I'm doing stuff like that, pitching's not always perfect, but the point is I'm kind of looking for interesting things to sing and then play those rather than getting locked in that box of playing all of these like guitar-y based things. I'm more encouraged to play things that you might deem to be actual melodies. Now, to answer kind of the last question, where do other guitar players fit on this scale, and how do other people think when they play? Are we just going through the motions? It's kind of both. Because when I talk to you, you don't hear me improvising words. I'm not making words up. I'm using words. This is established vocabulary. You know what all of these words mean in on their own. And so when I give them a wider context, i.e. create a sentence using them, that sentence makes sense. But I'm not just creating words. And when it comes to improvising, it's very much the same thing, at least in my mind. Now, sure, sometimes you have moments of real improvisation where you play things that you maybe have never kind of practiced before or worked out before. And that's totally possible because you can totally, hear something in your head that you've not practiced and then go, that's interesting, I'll play that. Those moments I find tend to be rarer. You will find a lot of playing established vocabulary, but that doesn't mean that you're not improvising. So if I'm playing a blues in A, carried away there. The point is, when I'm doing that, there are kind of cliches, licks and phrases that I play often, like this. And I'm not entirely sure if I played that during that, but I know I play that quite a lot. I hit the flat 7 of my chord. I tend to walk down from there, so phrases like that. I like playing phrases like that. Now, is it improvisation when I play something like that? I guess it depends. If I've written what I'm playing, then no, it's not really improvisation. But there is that connection between what I'm doing and what I'm playing. Like I'm hearing that as a phrase and then playing it. If I'm thinking A, as soon as I hear that note, Now, doing stuff like that is, the best way to expand upon that as a thing. And really, like when you get good at that, the only thing stopping you from being able to solo over chord changes is what you can hear. Your limitation is only ever what you can hear, not what you know. You don't need to know a whole bunch of scales to be able to play over chord changes really well. When I'm playing that, when the chord changes to D, and I hear that because in my head I can hear that D7 chord. I'm hearing the root. So, yeah, pretty ropey in places there. But the point is, yeah, the more and more you work on that as a thing, the more and more you will develop that. And it's not too much of a stretch for you to then start anticipating any sound. The Wholetone Scales just jumped into my head. Hearing that is, you don't learn to sing the Wholetone Scale. I play A, ba da da da, da. See, I'm really having to. I'm checking. You can see that I went for the note, and I'm like, no, that's diatonic. That's two. That's the sixth, and I want to be hearing the sharp five. Ba do da 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 da. What is that note? Ba do da 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 da. There we go. Yeah. Ba da da ba. See, it's tricky. Ba da da. No. Ba do da 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 da. Bu da 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 ba da bu da 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 ba da bu da da. Now, how can you be expected to play decent whole tone vocabulary if you can't hear the whole tone scale? You can do it, but the only way that you can really do it is you start using geometric shapes. And then you're in this kind of tricky area where it's like, well, I'm trying to blend fluid with these weirder and they're at odds with each other, so you have to kind of remedy that, the fact that those two things don't align with each other. You need to be able to hear stuff, and I've demonstrated that, as always, my whole tone playing needs work. My whole tone, my diminished, they always need more work, because by nature of them being quite symmetrical in sound, I find it difficult to hear them as intervallic sounds in their own right. It's more the relationships. I'm waffling far beyond the remit of this lesson, I'm sure you can appreciate. But yeah, hopefully that has answered some of your questions. It's all about singing, at least for me. And when you look at great improvisers that sing a lot when they play, George Benson, he's musically very free. You could think of someone like Mike Stern, from sitting down with Mike Stern one-on-one. I noticed this when he was warming up. He sang everything that he played, and I asked him about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, sing everything you play." And to be completely honest with you, even if you look at players that don't sing everything they play, they're singing what they're playing in their head. There's never any surprise. A good player is never surprised when he puts a finger down. Everything is anticipated. He knows exactly what it's going to sound like when that little finger goes down there. Carried away. Anyway, I always get carried away. It's fun, isn't it, right? So finally, huge thank you to these people over here, Patreon supporters. Your help and support does mean a lot to me. It means that I can keep doing these videos. It means I can do, great content for my Patreon supporters when they ask, but also for other people, students and friends. And, if you have a good idea for a video, drop it in the comments box below. You don't see Brian's name on this anywhere. Ryan. But more seriously, thank you to all these guys. They support my channel at a $10 or more tier, and it really does help. So much love to you guys. If you would like to check me out on Patreon, you do so by clicking this button up here, subscribe to my channel by clicking this button down here, tell your friends, of course, and then there's 2 more of my videos here and here. I'm sure you'll find some content you enjoy, at least I hope you do. So much love to everybody. Enjoy your holiday season, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.